Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about what is the deadline for small business qualification. Quick answer, there isn't one. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, I saw your video and I know I've passed the deadline." No, you haven't passed the deadline. There isn't a deadline for small business qualification. It's an annual renewal process, and the earliest you can apply is August 1st for the next fiscal year. I'll repeat that. It's an annual renewal. So every year you have to reapply for small business status. It's not automatic. You have to apply to the FDA for small business status. Now, just about anybody can get it because you have to make less than $100 million. So most companies that are applying to the FDA make less than $100 million, but either they don't know about the small business qualification or don't get their paperwork done on time. So on time is before your submission. So it's not that you have to apply before August 1st. It's you can't apply for fiscal year 2024 until August 1st. Just like last year, August 1st, 2022, you were applying for fiscal year 2023. The fiscal years for the FDA go from October 1st to September 30th. And so the end of the fiscal year is coming up in approximately another 30 days here because today is September 1st. And if you want to apply for fiscal year 2023, that means you plan on submitting in the next 30 days. So you're hoping that if you fill out an application for 2023, the FDA will approve it and you'll be able to submit within a 30-day period. It's possible, but highly unlikely. And the FDA would have to expedite that review because they normally take 60 days to do their review. I had a client that recently submitted one and got it turned around very quickly, but there's no guarantees. More likely, you're going to submit a small business qualification now for fiscal year 2024. But if you didn't submit it by August 1st, that's okay. You can submit it now. You can submit it next month and anytime until next year around this time. In which point it's only 30 days left. You're probably going to have to submit for fiscal year 2025. So that's what I wanted to make sure everybody understands crystal clear. Now, what are the things that are being discounted? So what's the discount you get? Why is this a big deal? Well, if you're submitting a 510K and over 3,000 of you out there are submitting 510Ks each year, there is a $16,000 discount if you have a small business status. So 75% of the user fee that the FDA charges for a standard submission is discounted because you're a small business. You make less than 100 million. So that's huge. Yeah, $16,000. I could definitely use that. But what is not discounted is the annual registration. So the establishment, the registration that you submit once a year for renewal that allows you to distribute in the US, that's not discounted. So you have to pay the full fee no matter what size company you are. That covers the annual inspections, the routine inspections that are done by companies. It covers the tracking that they have of all the medical devices that are going through the system and making sure they should legally come to the US or not go into the US. So that's what that fee's for, and there's no discount for it. Now, a lot of people have said to me, well, how can I apply for this process? Well, there's a link down below. So on our videos, I try to put quite a bit of information down below in the description. So if you click on the video and look at the description, it'll give you information. There's a hyperlink there on small business qualification. On our website, the page is medicaldeviceacademy.com/small-business-qualification. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to that page, and everything you need to know about small business status is on that page, or it's in the video that's embedded in that page, including the forms that you need, whether you're a foreign firm or a US firm. The information is there. Can't find your organization ID? It's on that link. So go to that link and apply if you have not done that already. And if you're one of our clients, we've told you like 7 times, please do it. So which user fees are discounted? The submission fees, not the registration fees. If you don't have a product on the market right now and you're applying for small business status because you want to submit a 510K, you are not required to register. Those companies are not required to register. Registration is when you actually start distribution. You're not allowed to market and distribute your product until you get your 510K. And you actually have to put that K number in there. So that's one of the things you need to know. How do you apply? You fill out the form, you attach your tax return, and you send it to the red address that's on that page that I gave you. But it's going to take the FDA about 60 days to review it. So you submit it now for fiscal year 2024, you're going to hear around November 1. What if you haven't filed your taxes? So that attachment, that little thing I slipped in there, you got to attach your tax return. Whoops, I haven't filed my taxes yet because we don't file until April. For fiscal year 2022, that was the most recent fiscal year that you had to pay taxes for. So you would attach your tax return for 2022. But if you started your company in 2023 and you're trying to apply, you don't have a tax return yet. So now what do you do? Well, there are a few options. Option one is you wait until January and you file for a loss. Even though you don't have income, easier to just to start up, you can still file for a loss, zero income, come January 1. So that's one option. But that means you got to wait to submit until after January. You don't want to wait. Okay. Option number two, you could claim a different tax year. There are all kinds of tax consequences for that, but there is an option to have a non-traditional tax year. So you could have your tax year end October 1st, or September 30th, just like the FDA. So if you started your company back in June and or July, and you're going to have a short tax year, yes, you could apply. You could submit your tax return for a partial year for the first year, and then a full year, and you'd have an off calendar tax year. And there are tax consequences for that, but that is a way to get this tax return done. What is another option for you? This is something that I have only heard secondhand. There are two options for the secondhand options that I've heard from people. Number one, I've seen people get small business tax status for them personally. So one of my clients actually got it for themselves as a person, and they submitted the 510K as a person. That is an option. And then later on, you can transfer the ownership of the 510K from the person to the company. That is an option. And that person did not make $100 million a year, so they fell within that status as well. I don't know all the details for filing as a person, but that's an option. Another option that I have heard works, and I haven't tried this myself either, if you live in a country like Mexico or Japan, where they only speak that language, they don't speak English, the tax authority may not be willing to sign the US 3602A form because it's all in English and they want to sign something they can read. So if they're not willing in your country to sign that form, then I would recommend that you document what your taxable income was some other way and attach it with a memo saying the country, the National Tax Authority, refuses to sign your form because it's not in their language. But here is the evidence of that we make less than $100 million a year. So that is another option. I've been told it works. I haven't tried it myself, and it's not in the guidance. So I can't point to the section of the guidance where it says that's okay, but I've been told that works. So there are other options. So don't abandon all hope. Apply, save yourself 16 grand. So, can you share your small business status? So, both of our companies are small businesses. You haven't applied, but I have. So, I'll file for you. No, you can't do that because they actually require that you submit what are your subsidiaries and what are your parent companies. You have to submit a form for each of them too. So if you were truly a legal partner, two companies were going to do business together like that, you would have to file their form as well. And that wouldn't be appropriate to file for them and not disclose all their income as well. What else could you do? Somebody suggested sharing the establishment registration. There's no discount for that, but us four companies together, we could have just one establishment registration. There's a problem with that. The establishment registrations are for a single location. So if you have multiple sites, you have to file for each of those separately as a registration. So pooling your companies and having four different companies pooled together under one registration will work. I suppose if you were all technically under the same building and you were all making metal devices and you wanted to do one, but in that case, only one name can appear on the label. So you get to decide, let's say there are four of you in the same building, you happen to share the same location. Which one of you is the distributor for this company that's going to register? And that company also has to be the one that's prepared to do the inspection, has the design history file on. Oh, so you're just absorbing the other three companies into your company legally in order to make this work. So, not really a good strategy. Your lawyer and accountant would not recommend this strategy. But that these are crazy ideas that have been proposed to me. So, do not try to share your establishment registration with another company. Do not try to share your small business status with another company. Those strategies do not work. But who must register and list? So there, if you actually type into Google who must FDA register and list, a page will come up from the FDA website that says who must register and list. And it will give you exactly, it gives you a table, says these roles are required, these roles are not. Here's whether they have to pay a fee. Here's whether they have to have a quality system. Here's whether they have to register. Here's whether they have to list. All that's covered on that page. It's a table. You can read it. A lot of companies are under the impression, oh, I'm a contract manufacturer and I don't ship directly to you as I ship it to the company that ordered it and they ship it to the US. Doesn't matter. If you're making the finished device, you're the contract manufacturer, you need to be registered as well. A lot of people don't agree with that, but that is officially what that means. And I know that for a fact because I asked that specific question, gave that specific scenario to Lisa King, who actually is from the FDA and gives the training on who must register and list. And she said, no, you have to register and list as the contract manufacturer. That's the way they did it way back when, like 20 years ago, back in 2003. So, last thing, under registration and listing, user fees, all that stuff, you do not have to register in order to file a 510K. However, if you already have a product on the market that is distributing and has a 510K or it's a class 1 that's exempt, you have to have your registration up to date. If you're not distributing now, you do not have to register. If you are distributing now, your registration has to be up to date before you pay the user fee for the 510K. And if you are a foreign firm that is registering, you have to have a U.S. agent. You do not have to have a U.S. agent for 510Ks. You do have to have a U.S. agent for registration purposes. And only if you're outside the U.S. Who can be a U.S. agent? Anybody that resides in the U.S. and they ask for a company EIN number and company name. So even though I suppose you could be an entrepreneur that's a consultant, it should be a company. So Medical Device Academy is a corporation, and we have a team of people, and we have multiple people trained on how to be a U.S. agent and handle the U.S. agent services. I'm usually the name listed there, and it's my contact information. Why? Because I'm the owner of the company, and I'm going to be the legally one responsible for everything, and the FDA is going to call me. So, but we have multiple people on our team that can do the U.S. agent registration process for you. And so we can register your company, we can do the listing for you, and we can confirm that we are your US agent and we take care of the whole thing for you. And yeah, Registrar Corp is the biggest one out there in terms of the most number of registrations, but we're like half the cost. So if you're interested in getting US agent services for less, call us. Becca will help you out and she'll fill out all your registration for you and send you an invoice for $600 for new registrations. If you already are on the market and you just want to go to a better supplier, $450. But hopefully I've answered the final question. Now, who needs to register with the FDA? Who needs to pay the user fee? How do you get a small business status? What's the deadline? I hope I answered those questions. And it's basically frequently asked questions around registration, listing, and user fees. So I hope I answered your questions. If you have any additional questions, put them down in the comments down below. Oftentimes I forget during the week, but usually when I say, hey, if you have any comments, put them down below. As soon as I'm done, I go in there and I type in answers to ones that you asked last week. So that's what I'm going to do. And as soon as we're done, and hope to see your comments there next week. Bye bye. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.